They got 14 points, which is far less than what they average all year. Kudos to the Dallas Cowboys. That team last night, if they can package that up, bottle it, ship it to San Francisco, ship it to wherever they need to be next, that team that you saw last night, ladies and gentlemen, is good enough to win a Super Bowl. But I also saw them just a week before score 6 points. So we're going to talk about this, the consistency, a little later. Tom Brady, wow, a season to forget. 8-10, 53 QBR, 6 multi-touchdown games, the fewest since his rookie season, 31 incompletions in a wild card in the playoff, the most of his career. So Tom Brady looked like he had looked all year long. Bad. The Cowboys looked as good as I've seen them ever, and since Dak's been there in 7 years. If Brett Maher don't mess that game up, that might have been the most complete demolition job that you will see a team. They were complete. They ran the ball well enough. Dak Prescott. You look like Troy Aikman. You look like Roger Staubach at their absolute best. I just wish he'd have threw that touchdown to Dalton Schultz so he could have had 5 touchdowns. But hey, 4 in a rushing touchdown with no turnovers. Kudos to you, Jack. You're going to be Offensive Player of the Week. Brock Purdy, you had it for a while, but I got to give it to Dak Prescott because what he did last night, given what he was up against, given the pressure that was on him, considering they hadn't won a playoff game in a long time road, Dak Prescott, hey, I ain't got nothing to give you. If I had a hat, I'd tip my cap to you.
Is that it?
That's it.
I need to check with the control room. Is the show over yet? We might only have like 30 seconds left.
Man, I went for 5 minutes. The show starts at 6:30 and it's 6:35.
I think you went for 12 minutes. I've never heard anything like it. You just broke the record.
Hold up.
Dak Prescott last night broke the Cowboy playoff record for consecutive passes, breaking Troy Aikman's record. You just set the undisputed record for words spoken before I get to speak.
I went for, ladies and gentlemen, you see that? The show starts at 6:30.
I think you tricked that out. That's CGI. You have that permanently on your screen.
That's no CGI. Go ahead, take it.
It is finally my turn. Last night was a tour de force by my Dallas Cowboys.
It was.
Start to finish, back and forth, up and down, every way, shape, and form, except for my kicker, who kicked me right in the you-know-whats last night.
Bad.
4 times. And we are going to get to him in a few minutes here on this show, but right now is not his time or his turn to be dealt with, because it is time to deal with my football team. Thank you for saying what I was about to say, which is last night I saw a Super Bowl team. Again, they have to replicate. They have to duplicate. They have to take their show on the road again to San Francisco to play easily the best team that I've seen so far in the NFC. And all of a sudden, everything will ratchet up. The degree of difficulty will go up into the San Francisco fog because this is going to be a test. But I believe my team is fully capable of beating the San Francisco 49ers in Santa Clara, California this coming Sunday night, even though they are a 4-point underdog as opposed to a 2.5-point favorite last night. But in this game, this played out exactly like I thought it would play out. You thought it would be a close game. You said it would be 22-20. So you had some respect for the GOAT because you thought the GOAT and his defense might keep it fairly close.
Well, yeah, I thought they would score late, Skip. I did not expect Dallas to play like, I don't think anybody thought they would play like this, Skip.
Well, I called it yesterday sitting right here on this show. I told you my team will be ahead by 17 going to the fourth quarter. And you looked at me like, what?
Yeah.
And they were up 18. And then they just piled on after that because they're just, as I said all week long, they're just way better than the Tampa Bay Bucks from start to finish. In any way, shape, or form you want to try to decipher what's left of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, my team is just better. So what was my statement that I made? I told you yesterday, I'm going to quote myself. I said, Dak Prescott will have all night to throw at Tampa. That's all he had was all night long. Could we cue up the song all night? We could do a little Lionel Richie.
Lionel Richie.
Oh, let's just
Vita Vea got him once. He got him early, but after that.
Vita Vea had one uncharacteristic explosion rush that I might have seen one of those all year. I don't know where it came from. Dak did get off to a little bit of a shaky start because CD had a drop and then T.Y. Hilton had a drop and Dak had one real off target. And then once he took a deep breath and hit Michael Gallup, all of a sudden they looked at each other like, we got this. They cannot rush the passer. I'm going to say it again. Tampa Bay's pass hush was graded 28th overall by Pro Football Focus because they have nobody except maybe the odd Vita Vea who can break through and get to Dak Prescott. Yeah. What do you think's going to happen if you give Dak that much time to just stand back there and say, maybe, no, boom, right? Mm-hmm. Dalton Schultz is running free. All of a sudden, CD's running free. It got all the way to the last touchdown pass to CD. They completely blew the coverage.
Yeah, I don't know.
They blew coverages all night long.
They blew coverages all year.
All year long. They did. They were a bad football team. Mm-hmm. And for once, my team did not do cowboy things.
No, they didn't.
My team did not shoot self in foot.
Right.
My team did not get in own way.
Yeah.
My team just flexed its firepower and flexed its star power because it has serious firepower and star power all across the football. Now, let's flip it around. What is the book on Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. going back to his youngest days, back to those Baltimore playoff games? If you get after him, he's not mobile.
Get him out that spot.
If you knock him off his spot, if you make him flinch, if you make him second guess, you got him because Baltimore used to own him even at Foxborough. Baltimore, Ray Lewis and company, as you know, just owned him because they could get after the quarterback because he is the quarterback. If you give him some time, if we'd flipped the script last night, if he'd been standing behind Dallas's offensive line with Tampa Bay's pass rush coming after him, he'd just get in a rhythm and he would throw a party.
He might throw for 600 yards.
He might throw for 600 yards. But the flip happened, and thank you, God, my oh Micah reemerged. 11 from heaven, fell back out of heaven. Maybe he just had a daughter 2 days ago. Yeah. Maybe that was something that was just weighing on his mind. It's over. Yeah. He got it. And he rose and he shone last night because from the very first defensive snap for my Dallas Cowboys, you could see they couldn't block him. Donovan Smith has no hope because he didn't have any hope in the opener and he had no hope last night. Wherever Micah came from, he was getting loose and getting free, and he was bedeviling Tom Brady. Brady's looking for 11. You could just see him flinching. You could see him. And then back to the play in question. It's a horrible play because it's the turning point of the football game because just before that, on a 3rd and 4, Brady had actually made a fairly athletic play for a 45-year-old quarterback. What does my team do best on defense? They take away the football. Why does my team have a chance to win at San Francisco against Brock Purdy? Why does my team have a chance to go win, dare I say, the Super Bowl? They take the ball away.
You take the ball away in the playoffs. You got a great chance to win no matter where you play.
Great chance. And I thought the Godwin play, even though he was down, I thought that was another turnover. But this is the turnover because this is the cardinal sin of quarterbacking. And what would it have been for Brady? He had been... At that point, he'd gone 409 attempts in the red zone without throwing an interception.
Last one was in 2019, I think, in New England.
Okay, so he'd gone all 3 of his years at Tampa Bay with not committing a cardinal sin one time.
ESPN jinxed him, Skip. Okay, you know they put those stats on the board.
And they're talking about it, they're raving about it, and I'm like, uh-oh, it's the classic announcer's jinx from Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, and he did that. And it wasn't like, oh, I made a bad choice. He just didn't get enough on the ball because he ducked, because he's 45 and he doesn't want to get hit in the mouth. And he had pass rushers in his face, and it's just a fall away that didn't have enough on it, and it's the football game because that's it. If you go 70 and 14 plays and you come away with 0, and it's 6-0 because
now you had an opportunity. As bad as you played up until that point, you had a chance to make it 7-6.
You would have been up 7-6. And then we go the other direction. And we go 80 yards in 15 plays. But all of a sudden, they try Zeke on 3rd down. And I got to tell you, as much as I love Zeke, it's just, I just don't see much left
Skip,
there.
I just don't see. Skip,
I don't even get why they try it anymore.
Well, maybe it's me, Skip, but I'm not so sure he gets the same blocking as Pollard.
I just don't know because it's hard to watch. Because,
it is.
You know,
he's definitely a plow horse now.
He's a plow horse. He's more of a fullback than a halfback. So I'm looking for what did Zeke wind up with last night? He had 13 carries for 27 yards. That's 2.1 yards per attempt. I keep beating the table over here. I need to see more number 20. I need to see Tony Pollard. And we're going to get into this all week. But this is just me. I'm going to throw this out because I know this will set you off. I know it's going to be Christian McCaffrey against Tony Pollard. And they do a lot of the same things. I'll still take my man, Tony Pollard, because I think he's a touch faster than Christian is. As great as Christian is.
But I think Christian is a way better receiver because if you think about it, Skip, they line McCaffrey up in the slot, they run him like he's an actual slot receiver.
Well, against the GOAT, when Brady went out there, he caught a downfield touchdown pass that was a wide receiver route. Okay?
Exactly.
I got it. Well, that's a close call, but I'll still take my guy because my guy is explosive. Okay, so what happens? We get down there and Zeke gets stuffed, and all of a sudden it's 4th and goal at the 1. And Troy Aikman says on television, man, I'm just going to take the 3 here. Well, little did we know, Brett the Fret has returned, as in Maher, and maybe you wouldn't want to take the 3, right?
Well, Skip, I talked about, I said, Skip, you remember you used to call the man Brett the Fret. Oh, I got all the confidence in the world in him now. I said, oh, you were sure? Okay. You said you were sure about it.
Okay.
Are you still sure?
This year they've been calling him Money Maher. We're going to get to it. We'll do a whole breakdown on him in just a moment.
Maher.
But maybe Maher is right. But the point was, he was 19 to 22 on field goals this year. And the weird thing about this game last night, there's no field goals attempted.
None.
It was all about the extra points.
Right.
Fortunately, because the 3s can get you. The 1s you can sort of live with usually if you're.
They're just deflating to an offensive team, and we're going to talk about Dak showing frustration. He's like, make up.
Did he? Well, he said, let's go for 2.
Yeah.
Well, okay. All right. So what they did was Mike McCarthy made one great call. He just immediately said, no, go.
Right.
And it's Kellen Moore's call, but it's Mike McCarthy's overview.
Yeah.
He's got to bless it.
Right.
And he said, go for it. And I give Mike McCarthy high marks. He stayed out of the way last night, but he had to make one choice. And this is game-changing right here.
Yes.
Let's go. And to Kellen Moore's credit, he calls a play that is virtually indefensible.
Yeah.
You're going to roll. You're going to go on the naked, go left.
Yep.
But it's a run-pass option, and Dak said after the game, I had it either way.
Yes.
I got Dalton, and that's what you're talking about. You could have flipped it to him for the 5th touchdown.
Dak said, I ain't gonna chance it.
Okay, and it's just wide open on the flank because nobody is home. Everybody's
selling out to stop the run. Skip.
Okay, it was the game of his life, on the stage of his life, against a GOAT quarterback who was 7-0 lifetime against his Dallas Cowboys. Dak had won only 1 playoff game. In fact, last night, Tom Brady had won as many playoff games going into the game as my Cowboys had won in their lifetime.
Yeah.
In their lifetime. 35 to 35. And all of a sudden, we got it.
They've been playing football a lot longer than
A lot longer, okay? So it was a show of shows by a quarterback who was under fire because at Washington, again, the game didn't count unless they were going to put some heat on Philadelphia.
Right.
He completed 38% of his passes.
Right.
38%. His offense went 4 of 18 on 3rd down. Are you kidding me? 4 of 18. And then, as CD said, we will flip the switch. Did they flip it last night? You've got what's left of Tom Brady. And let's see what happened at the end of this game, because weirdly, it got a little bit dicey, believe it or not. Okay, so he finally makes a throw to Julio. And it did my heart good because I wanted Julio to have a big sort of last hurrah kind of year in Tampa with Tom Brady, because Brady recruited him on IG.
Yes.
And he was hurt all year. By the way, I had an emerging new corner last night. I don't know if you noticed, but Israel Mukwama.
Yeah.
Out of South Carolina. Remember, he started opposite J.C. Horn at South Carolina. And he was a 6th-round pick by the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah. He's 6 feet 4 inches tall. He had Godwin all night long. Right. I'm going to assume they're going to have to use him some on Debo because he's bigger and more physical.
Right.
And he got physical with a very physical Chris Godwin. And then they go score. He hits Cameron Brate. And then they go for 2 and make it. So that could have made it 16. But I'm thinking, please don't pull off a miracle here because they've been too good all night long.
Right.
They've been a showcase of everything that you should do. Where CeeDee Lamb, listen.
But he was quiet. I thought he was hurt last night because I saw Gallup, I saw Noah Brown, and I saw T.Y. I was like, well, damn, y'all don't throw him. Is CeeDee hurt or something? What's going on with CeeDee? And then he showed up when you needed him.
Yep, he did. So my stat all week, the stat I hung my hat on all week, was that my team was number 1 through the season in pass rush pressure rate. Brady's offensive line was 24th in pass rush or pass block win rate. So it's like you should do that. You should be all over him from the start, and they were. led by Micah, Dorrance Armstrong. I know he got nicked and beat up, but I think he's going to be okay.
No, he got tired. So
Yeah, maybe
that's
he just
what,
got
but Skip,
tired.
they
And
should
you
have
know
went down
what?
earlier
Okay.
to stop that momentum.
In the fourth quarter, again, the only thing I fear about Brady is he led the league in fourth quarter passing yards and touchdown passes, in most part because they're always behind.
Yeah.
And he pulled off 3 miracles or minor miracles. And again, I didn't want to see that last night, but I thought my pass rush by the late third quarter started just getting tired because it's hard to keep rushing.
But you remember, Skip, he sped up the tempo also.
He did.
So he started going no huddle, and he wouldn't let them substitute. So he kept them on the field. And I was like, Cowboys, just go down with a phantom injury, so you'll get all of a sudden you can get guys on the field. That's what they do all the time.
Okay, so think about in the biggest picture how we flipped the script. We lost 19-3 on opening night to this team at Jerry World. They ran for 151 yards that night, and playoff Lenny ran for 127. Did you see what he's wearing before the game? He came out in his hoodie that said playoff Lenny. I think he was ready to go playoff
Lenny.
Yeah, it was layoff or way off Lenny. Because last night, playoff Lenny had 5 carries for 11 yards, and he caught 1 ball for 6 yards. They were dead last in rushing. They can't rush, which forced Brady to be dead
66
last.
pass attempts.
Yeah, well, it forced him to be dead last in play action passing.
Yeah.
It was 15% of the time because who's going to honor play action passes? So he throws a career high 66 passes because they can't run it. They're lost. They're hopeless. Right. They're a mess. That's what they were.
And Todd Bowles, I think he said after the game that they shut down the run. You guys are not really committed to the run like you are committed to throwing the football.
No.
Running requires a commitment, Skip,
does.
because people think that you toss the ball the first run, you're supposed to break off a 50 or 60-yarder. It doesn't work like that.
I agree. Yep. And yet that's how they played the whole year.
Yes.
And, you know, my team did exactly what my team should have.
Yes.
If it didn't do Cowboy things.
Right.
And it didn't do any Cowboy things except for the kicker.
No turnovers. I'm more surprised how well the Cowboy not how bad the Bucs, because I've seen this from Skip. We've seen this the whole year. You cannot go an entire season, 17 games, score more than 24 points twice,
right,
and then say all of a sudden the playoff, oh, we just gonna flip the switch. It doesn't work like that.
For 5 games, my team had given me very little evidence
that
it was Super Bowl quality or worthy.
Well, you definitely didn't see it last week. They played Washington football team. They got 6 points, Skip.
Terrible. It's just terrible.
And then you just went up and down the field.
Yeah. Are now vacation bound, gentlemen, and your Cowboys, Skip, headed out to San Francisco for the final playoff game of this upcoming weekend. Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Subscribe here to get the very latest from Skip and Shannon. Plus, go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.